Well, hey everyone, this is Michael, and welcome to the LoveWorks Dreamer and Doer podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We definitely know that there is not a shortage of great podcast options for you, so thank you for tuning in to ours. And it's at LoveWorks where we believe that you are never too young to be a dreamer, and you are definitely never too old to get started working on your dream. Carolyn, are you a podcast listener?
You know, I get into podcast grooves. So I'm not like a, drive into work, listen to a podcast type person. But once I find a podcast, it's one of those like, okay, I'm going to listen to like 3 of them or 4 of them, one right after the other. That's kind of my whole zone.
Well, you know what's great though about finding that zone and that podcast that you love?
What's so great about it?
Subscribing to it and leaving at least a some star review and some feedback.
Yes, it sometimes gets repeated pretty often throughout a lot of podcasts, and so a lot of people will hit skip and just not even think of it. But it's actually something really important and really helpful to the podcast team, and so that we can release more and do more with the podcast.
Well, it is, absolutely. We want to expand. We want to reach students literally around the world. And so we know you stay very busy, but if you wouldn't mind subscribing to our podcast, you can leave an any star review that you want. Most podcasts will ask for the 5-star. We're not even asking for that, but we would love you to leave us something and a review kind of like this one. And Carolyn, I did not pay anyone off to write this review, but here's what they said about Dreamers and Doers. They said, Dreamers keeps doing, and LoveWorks continues to innovate and inspire, and it's a great way to start off the week on the right foot, gaining perspective, encouragement, and action steps to make our dreams come true. That one is from Small Steps Move Mountains. And so, hey, if you're listening, we'd encourage you just to take a quick pause and write us a quick review.
It means more and does more than you know. And so we're excited because each week at the Dreamers and Doers podcast, we've got a special guest lined up for you. And we definitely have a very special guest lined up for you today. And they're bound to connect with you wherever you find yourself. And they're going to inspire you to become the best version of yourself for tomorrow.
And Carolyn, we definitely are in agreement with this, that there's multiple ways, but one way in particular that you can become the best version of yourself. And that is through personal growth. And each week we love to curate. We love to talk about personal growth. And we also like to curate different kinds of music. And we mentioned already podcasts. We'll throw out those types of suggestions, individuals that we think, influencers that we think they're important to follow, or even great organizations. But today, Carolyn, we're going to kind of dig into the well of something that we have picked up from one of our previous Dreamer and Doer guests, a resource that they've created. So do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I do. Okay, so I get to do a little show and tell today. If you're listening on the podcast version, I'm holding on to something called I Talk, and they're affirmation cards. And if you look really closely, it says I talk to myself, which I love. I think it's hilarious. But these were created by Clint Gresham. He's from episode number 55 on our Dreamers and Doers podcast. And these are affirmation cards that he actually wrote for himself, but then found out that people definitely will love and be inspired by them as well. And so they're really neat, but there's an affirmation on one side, something to encourage you specifically really to become the best version of yourself. And then on the back side, there's actually a Bible verse that correlates with it. And so I love it. It's been really neat. For me, it's actually really hard to stop reading them. So that's my thing it's like, okay, it's like I read them out loud and then I want to move on to the next one. But it's great to flip it over, take some time to actually think about what it means and then to really sit on it. But they're so good. It is honestly hard to stop just like flipping through them and like getting this encouragement. But what I've been trying to do is really, I'll max myself out at 5 and then I'll pick one of those 5 that I'll really focus on for the day. And so it's been really, really great. Love these cards. And you can find them at clintgresham.com.
I love it. And then go back and re-watch or re-listen to that episode. It is absolutely fantastic. Carolyn, thanks for sharing that personal growth tip.
Yeah. What about you, Michael? What are you working on?
Oh, I'm going to have to take us back all the way to episode number 18 with colleague and friend Chris Capehart. And I know that this is a particular resource that you have gravitated towards. So I really should kind of just like pass the ball over to you. But Chris created a one-step journal. It's awesome. It's a one-pager, and it's all about increasing your daily productivity, but in just 4 simple steps. And he wrote a book called Step, so I think that's just so appropriate. But I love it. It's quick, it's easy, and one of those simple steps that I'll give you that I think is just great. It's something I think that's important for us to think about top of mind in the morning. Is what can we do in the first part of our day that matters the most? Not necessarily the easiest thing, and sometimes picking up a quick win, which is part of his journal, is important. But what do we need to do that matters the most? So in other words, if there was only one thing that we could do in one given day and feel accomplished, what would that one thing be, and to tackle it? And so I would encourage you to go back to episode number 18, re-listen to that episode about taking steps towards your dreams. And of course, you can look in the show notes, and we provide the resources to find his one-page productivity planner. Well, those are just a couple quick tips for personal growth. We hope you enjoyed that. Dreamers and doers, I know that you are ready to get into today's interview. It is going to be incredible. But I want to remind you of our format, and here's it is. Each week we have the opportunity, it's a real fortunate opportunity to be able to sit down with a different dreamer and a doer. And we take some time, and we love to hear at least one dream story. We love our guests taking us back to even early childhood and talk with us a little bit about what did those early dreams look like and what did they do. But we don't necessarily stop there. We love to transition into hear about what they're doing today and even some of the challenges that they've encountered. And we hope that it's going to encourage you and inspire you to get from the place you are today to the place that you desire to get to tomorrow. And so let's meet our dreamer and doer today. His name is Sean Akadiri.
Sean Akadiri is the founder, president, and CEO of Agric Bioinformatics, Inc. It's a data analytics company in Oklahoma City. Sean is the ag tech entrepreneur passionate about using data analytics to improve the performance and productivity of livestock. Sean came to the U.S. from Nigeria when he was 19 years old on a student visa to attend college, where he received a bachelor's degree in biology and a minor in chemistry from East Central University, and earned his MBA from Mid-American Christian University. He also attended the University of Oklahoma College of Engineering for 3 years studying chemical engineering, and Sean has over 15 years of experience in biotechnology and life science industries. He's also on the advisory board for Moore Norman Technology Center of the Biotechnology Program. Hi, Sean.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Oh, we are doing great, Sean. It is so great to see you today.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm very honored to be here. Thank you guys very much.
Well, if our students and listeners were leaning in at all and paying attention to the bio that Carolyn just read, they must have had their curiosity piqued in an incredible way, hearing about you being from Nigeria and doing what you're doing today. It's awesome.
I know, it's a dream come true, man. I live my dream every day, so I'm excited to be here and share my story with you guys.
Well, speaking of dreaming, Carolyn, I think that's where we're going to start.
That is perfect. So we love, of course, starting off with this question because we're the Dreamers and Doers podcast. And Sean, I know you're a dreamer. I know you're a doer, but which one comes to you more naturally?
I'm a dreamer naturally. That's. I mean, it goes hand in hand, but naturally I dream first, then I execute. If that makes sense, So I'll say I'm a dreamer first.
I love that. Oh,
well,
yes.
We know you are the dreamer, Sean, and we're gonna ask you to take us back just a few years to what life was like growing up in the suburbs with a 4.5 car garage on 10 property.
I wish it was like that, man. I wish it was like that. That would be perfect.
But I will say this, students, listeners, I really want you to buckle up your seatbelts here and just take a moment and just take in and absorb, because I believe, Sean, you're going to take us on an incredible ride. So, Sean, if you wouldn't mind, can you kind of paint a picture for us of what life growing up?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, I came in from humble beginnings. Growing up, I grew up in Nigeria. I actually grew up with my grandma. So when I was born in '81 in a little town called Ibadan in Nigeria. So when I was 4 years old, my grandma passed, right? So I had to move with my parents. So 4 years old, moving my parents. 2 years after I moved with my parents, my mom decided that she left and she moved to London. So now 6 years old, stayed with my dad, and I had two other siblings, right? So for me, it was really tough emotionally because moving from my grandma to my parents' house. Then 2 years after I moved to my parents' house, my mom left. So that was really an emotional struggle for me. So but I think for me it was the only way I could escape was to just mentally just free myself and just dream and say, you know what, maybe there's something better out there for me. And so my journey from Nigeria to the state was kind of remarkable. And I tell people, I said the only thing that you have that nobody can take away from you is your dream. I think we are all capable of dreaming. And when you inspire the younger kids to dream as big as they can, I think that really helps them emotionally, that helps them mentally, but also that also guides their vision, right? So for me, growing up in Nigeria, I knew that there has to be something out there better, right? And I knew that the only way I could achieve it is, even if I didn't know how it's gonna happen, I could just dream about it, and maybe somewhere somehow, God will smile and it will make a way for me, right? So it was tough growing up in Nigeria. I wasn't gonna lie to you. I'm one of those kids. You had those stories when you look at kids in Africa, like, hey, they wake up in the morning, they walk miles to go get water, to fetch water, put water on their head, and all of that stuff. And I didn't grow up with running water at the house. We literally, struggled growing up, but for me, it was everything that I've been through kind of made me who I am today. And so I don't take anything away from that. And I went to boarding school too. So when I was 10 years old, I moved to boarding school, and it was like a camp. It's not the boarding school that you guys imagine. It's a different type of boarding school. It was for the survival of the fittest. I'm talking about you 10 years old, you living with you in the same campus with 18, 16, 17 years old, right? And you're 10 years old. That's intimidating, right? And you know, you can get bullied. You can get whatever you can get taken advantage of because the infrastructure and everything was not what it's supposed to be. But it was more of, okay, life lesson. How do you survive, right? What are the things that you have to do to make sure that you can survive and you can excel? But for me, mentally, I was always just trying to escape and figure out, maybe that's one day something better is out there for me. So, I graduated high school, and fortunately for me, I already put it in the universe. And one day, man, I'm gonna try to come to the state. How? I don't know how, right? And I just put it in the universe. So something happened. My mom called me and said, "Hey, there's an opportunity for you. You know, if you want to go, you can take some classes, SATs, and I think in Nigeria we have to do two exams. We have to take the SAT, and we have to take something called Test of English as a Foreign Language. And so I took those exams, but it wasn't guaranteed that if I applied for a visa, I was going to get it. It was just a chance, right? And at the time, I actually had gotten started my first semester in college in Nigeria, but my mind and my heart was not there. I wanted something different. I wanted something better, but I didn't know, how it was going to happen. So I tell people, I said, whenever you dream, don't worry about how. How is none of your business. How is it going to happen? That's none of your business. All you have to do is just dream. And when you dream, it guides your vision, right? Everything you do guides your vision, right? So it's important for you to dream because once you start dreaming, the friends you keep, the things you listen to, what you do, the company you keep, everything guides and align, with your vision. So you have to be very, very careful of what you think about and how you dream and what you dream. And the funny thing is dreaming is free. So and it's very difficult too, because a lot of kids nowadays are kind of boxed in and marginalized, and even when they dream, they don't believe it's going to happen, because when they see that environment, they see the impossibility, right? That's why I'm very excited about the things that you guys are doing, is to instill hope and vision and encourage kids to see the possibility and to dream big. So it's bigger than you guys that are doing what you guys are doing. Is how you're going to impact the future generation. So for me, I had the opportunity to come, and luckily for me, they gave me a visa, and I came to the state. But I didn't know that was just the beginning of the struggle, coming to the state. You know what I'm saying? So I came to the state. I didn't have the resources, to be honest with you. I was just pretty much just grinding and trying to figure out things out. But luckily for me, I was able I was able to excel and be able to get the visa, and I was also fortunate, to be able to, come to the state. And my first semester in college, I asked my mom, I was like, hey, I don't know, I'm going to pay for my school fees. She was like, I don't know how you're going to pay for your school fees. Just figure it out. And I was 19 years old. How do 19 years old figure out how they're going to pay for their school fees? But, one thing led to another. Fast forward, my last semester, I was so fortunate enough that, a lot of people believed in me. And one of my professors actually paid, my school fees, so I could be able to graduate. And, the rest is history. So, for me, it's like how, I tell people, just believe, just dream, and everything will align. As long as you stay positive, as long as you keep coming, as long as you stay determined, anything is possible.
Mm. So, Sean, you just left Carolyn and I with a lot to unpack here.
Sorry.
In the best way. That I feel like there's such solid pieces of advice, just even in this front part here.
I'm wrestling with what question I want to add. Okay, let me at least get this one out, and Carolyn. So I'm trying to imagine. You talked about boarding school. So now I'm really going back. You already had us at you're in your 20s, but I'm taking you back to boarding school. I definitely can't relate to the experience, but I can picture in my mind you saying it felt like a survival of the fittest. I'm imagining, Sean, that you chose and you selected and you picked a different pathway. And I don't know how different that pathway was of your older two siblings. What do you think made the difference for you to make that choice and not to settle and stay? Although, I mean, I'm sure that, some may, some of the kids that you were around may have stayed, and they could be doing really great things today.
Yeah.
But what do you think made the difference with you? You weren't settling, you were dreaming, you were thinking about something else. What do you think made the difference for you?
I think for me, I'm a very determined person, right? And I always believe, that anything is possible. But I've always seen myself doing something big, right? I was about 6-7 years old. I was always, I wanted to become a medical doctor. I wanted to become a surgeon, whatever. So I've always seen myself doing something big, right? So, and I never settled for less, right? And I think also what inspired me was my mom lives in London, right? So I was like, well, she moved from Nigeria to London, and that got to be something better, that made her move, right? So for me, and I feel like, for me to really reach my God-given potential and talent, I have to leave. Right, I have to leave, and how I'm going to live, I can tell you that so in Nigeria, you might have parents that say, okay, well, they have everything all structured for you, right? Okay, you're gonna do this. We have plans for you. I didn't have the opportunity that my parents already have. Oh yeah, whenever you turn 16, you're gonna go to the state. No, it was just me, just imagining that, and I never settled for less. And I always see myself, if this person can do it, why can't I do it, right? I think it's something that I was born with. I already knew what I was gonna do at a very young age. I already know I'm not gonna stay here. So some people have it and some people don't. It's just something that comes naturally for me. So my other younger siblings, they didn't dream like I dream, right? They just, they're different, right? But for me, I always want to make an impact in the world. I always want to do something special, and just the sheer determination and just the perseverance and just not giving up and not thinking nothing is impossible. I think that's one of the things that actually guided me. And whenever you put something in the universe, it's so weird how things just happen, right? And I think that's one of the things that just kept me moving forward. And I was telling you about me going to school in the States. When I came here with $200. You know what I mean? I remember when I was on my phone with my mom, I was like, "Yo, mom, I don't know how I'm gonna pay my school fees." She said, "I don't know how you're gonna pay. You just gotta figure it out, right?" And like I said, fast forward, my last semester, I got a letter. Let me tell you the real story. I got the letter from school. I was my last semester because when I was going to school, I was always 2 semesters behind to catch up on my school fees, right? Because I didn't have the luxury of somebody paying my school fees or having scholarships or financial aid. It was so funny. My girlfriend at the time, she's my wife. Before the semester is over, she's already got everything paid for. The school fees paid for. She already got the books and everything. I'm like, man, you are so lucky. I'm over here stressing out, trying to figure out, how am I even going to pay my school fees? So my last semester, I was going to class. I got a letter, and it said you have a week to balance up, or we're going to have to kick you out of school, basically. And I went to class. I think my professor actually saw that so something was off. And she was like, "You want to talk about it?" I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll talk about it." So I went to our office, and she was like, "Well, let's come in." It was a Friday. She said, "Come Monday, and we'll figure things out." In my mind, I'm thinking maybe she will. She'll probably talk to the president or somebody to at least give me some more time. But no, she took me and said, "Come on, let's go." We went straight to the boss's office. She asked the bosses like, "How much is his school fees? How much is he owing?" And they told her it was at the time that was like 2003 or 2004. It was almost $4,000, $5,000. That was a lot of money for me to come up with in a week, you know. And she put out a credit card and she paid. And she's looking at me. I'm looking at her. I'm like, it was like, what's going on? I was like, should I give her a hug? Should I cry? What should I do? The bosses, the lady that took the money was like, what? Like, she couldn't figure out what was going on, But, I tell people, God is always going to make a way. Whenever He gives you the vision, He makes a provision, right? So it might not give you everything you want at the time, but He always gives you the things that you need to get to the next step. And that alone is enough for me. My professor was like, "Hey, I'm doing this because I believe in you and I want you to pay it forward." And at the time, I never thought I was going to be doing what I'm doing. I never thought I'd be an entrepreneur. All I wanted is just to get to the next step. You know what I mean? And she made it happen. And if not for her, I doubt I'll probably be sitting with you guys and talking about this right now because she helped me.
Yeah, that is amazing. I feel like, Sean, so much of your story has hope entwined in it from childhood, and that being a driving force to being a big dreamer to, I love just seeing the people, of course, too, and that professor who decided, like, I'm going to help keep this going. It's an amazing story. And I know you've mentioned this before, like your childhood was not easy. Even during college, it was not easy. But those things really have prepared you, and the things of your past have prepared you for your future. But you just mentioned you didn't do, your first dream was not in biotechnologies, this was not in agriculture, but you mentioned being a doctor. And you came to Oklahoma with $200. But what kind of led you to Oklahoma and picking this place? Did it start with
That's a good question, man. You know what? now I know why I came to Oklahoma. I think Steve Jobs said you don't connect. You can't connect it looking forward. You got to connect it looking backwards. So at the beginning, when I came to Oklahoma, actually, when I was taking my SAT, you had to pick a school, right? And for me, I didn't want to go to a big city. I didn't want to go to New York because I knew it was expensive. I didn't want to go to Chicago. All those big cities. Everybody that I called from Nigeria, they go to big cities, right? But I didn't want to because I knew I couldn't afford to live in a big city. But the name Oklahoma stood out. And the only thing I knew about Oklahoma when they had the bombing, right? The Oklahoma bombing. That was the only thing I knew about Oklahoma. But for some reason, I loved that name Oklahoma. I didn't know. I was just so attracted to that name. I was like, I'm gonna go to Oklahoma. And luckily for me, the first school that gave me an admission was in Oklahoma, it's Central University in Ada. But at the time when I came to Ada, when they came pick me up, I didn't know. I thought my school was going to be in the city, like city area, Oklahoma City, whatever. But I didn't know I was going to be going way out to Ada, right? So, but that was why I came. I mean, I just picked Oklahoma. But I tell you what, though, if I didn't pick Oklahoma, what I'm doing, I would be doing it, right? I'm gonna tell you another story. The first time the driver came to pick me up, because when I got to the airport. They had to send a driver from school to come pick me up, but that was another kid that we was actually waiting on as well. So the driver was like, "Well, let's kill some time." Guess what? It took me to the first store that it took me to was a Western store in Oklahoma. So we went to go buy some cowboy boots and cowboy hats.
Yes.
Right? I didn't know. I was looking back. I was like, that was a sign, right? That was the first store that I stepped my foot in when I got to Oklahoma was a Western shop, right? And looking back, I'm like, wow, this is what I'm doing. I work with ranchers, I work with a lot of cowboys, what I mean? But at the time, you don't know, you know what I'm saying? So I think I was destined, I tell people I'm destined to be in Oklahoma, right? Because if I didn't come to Oklahoma, what I'm doing, I wouldn't be doing it. So it was just God, man. I just gave me that sign. So sometimes I tell people, we worry about we worry about the future, we worry about tomorrow, but because we worry about tomorrow, we miss the opportunity right in front of our eyes right now. So I tell people, just stay present. Just take it one day at a time, and you'll be surprised what's going to happen.
That's powerful, Sean. God, I knew I should have selected different attire to wear for this interview today. My hat.
I tell you, it's crazy.
Well, Sean, as promised, you've already taken us on a ride just hearing the beginning of your dream story. We're going to segue now with a question from one of our students, and we're really excited to hear about what you're doing today and giving us the behind the scenes of the idea or how you came up with the idea for your company that you're running. But first, we want to hear this audio question from one of our aspiring business owners who has a desire to start a restaurant. His name is Ben, and he's got a question for you, Sean.
Hi, Sean. My name is Ben Boydston, and I'm 12 years old. My dream is to create a restaurant that serves food from many different countries. Your story of beginning in Nigeria and coming to America with a dream to become more inspires me to strive for better. My question is, how or where did you get the idea for Agric Informatics and Ag Boost?
That's a good question, man. So actually, like I said, I never thought I'd be an ag, right? Ag was just an accident. So when I knew I wasn't going to be able to go to medical school, just because I couldn't afford, I barely even made it through college, and I couldn't afford, to pay my school fees, whatever. So I started, I started the company, and I had an idea because I was working what's it called? I forgot. I was working in a lab, in a genetics lab, and we actually was focusing on human genetics, right? Nothing ag or whatever, but we had a project which is for white-tailed deer, right? And I was very interested because I didn't know that there was actually a lot of people that breed white-tailed deer, and people go on the ranch and actually hunt, and you can pay $10,000 just to go hunt this white-tailed deer. And it was very fascinating to me because we was actually genotyping these animals so that they can collect the information and help breed these animals to have big antlers, more focusing on the phenotypic and their physical appearance. And it was very fascinating to me. But the problem at the time was every time we do the testing and we send the reports out, it was through Excel, which is, for ranchers, they probably don't even know what they're looking at, right? They don't know. They don't know what information, and if you have to pay almost $80 just to test one animal, there got to be a better way to create value with the report. So I started doing my research, and I was like, okay, genetics is not just prevalent in the whitetail industry, but also the cattle industry. And cattle industry, the beef industry is is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And the way they're actually making selections right now is people just guess, right? And there's really no concrete way for these ranchers. There's no tool for them to be able to aggregate all of this information and make it very interactive, very visual to make breeding decisions. So I was like, okay, the problem is not the science, because the science is great. The problem is, how do you connect the result to the ranchers? How do you create value? How do you make that data very interactive so that, if you spend $2,000 to develop an effort, which is spend $1,800 to keep the bull in your herd, you better make sure that you're having a return on your investment. So that's where the whole idea came from. Like, okay, what if we create a tool that will not only allow the small and mid-sized or any rancher to have access to this data, but also help them instantly figure out what this information means and how they can use it to breed their animals and how they can use it to make breeding decisions. So that's where the whole concept came from. And that's what led me into agriculture. So I went from being a scientist, focusing on biotechnology and genetics, into now diverting myself into agriculture, into the beef industry, and that's how I just crossed over. And it was very challenging because I'm not an ag person. Yes, I'm in Oklahoma. It's exciting. I'm in Oklahoma, but I didn't know anybody in agriculture. I didn't know anybody. So I did one thing though. I know how to phone and I know how to computer, right? And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep calling and trying to figure out, who's in this industry, how can I get help, and the rest was history. And that's how the whole thing started, and that's how I made a cross from being a scientist in the lab into the ag industry.
Wow. Ron, I loved hearing about two magic words. And those two magic words that you used were, what if we created a tool? Side note, I don't know if it's only ranchers who may have a difficult time with Excel. I'm going to raise my hand as being one of those. Carolyn, I'm sure you were tracking, line by line with what Sean is talking about in his industry. I might be slightly scratching my head. A student that's listening to what you do today, Sean, what would be, if they're curious, what would be a step that an elementary school and middle school student could begin to take to learn more just about your industry and what you do?
It's just, for what I do is just a little piece of the whole big industry, right? I think right now, everybody really want to understand where their food comes from, right? Everybody want to know what they're eating. We're in a society now that we are very health conscious. Our physical health is very important. Our nutrition is very important. And, the way we take care of ourselves is very, very important. And for me, looking at the ranch industry is a very generational industry, right? And how do we tell that story, right? And a lot of people don't even know, where the steak, what's it called? How much energy, how much time it takes to actually get that steak in front of you, right? and that there's a lot of disconnect in the industry. So what we're trying to do is, hey, how do we create this value for these ranchers? Because when you look at the ranching industry, it's generational, right? I've been on a ranch that it's been existing for 100 years, and when I step on the ranch, it gives me chills because I'm like, man, I'm part of it. For me just to even be part of this is a big deal. And it's not going to stop because it's going to be passed on from the next generation to the next generation. So what we're doing is very, very valuable. We're creating a way for ranchers to have a better breeding program. We're giving them a tool to be more specific to create value, but also to be able to connect with the consumers, right? So if anybody want to know what we do, is pretty much understanding that where is our food coming from, right? And that's very, very important. And what the quality of our food, because the food that we eat, it also factor into our health, right? Whether you like it or not. So if we or my company do a little piece of just helping the ranchers tell their story, helping the ranchers, giving them a tool to be able to breed and to be able to market the animals and connect to the end user, I think we've really done a job. And also right now, with the next generation, everything is all data. Everything is all because when you talk about ranch, you think, oh, they're on the farm, they're outside. No, it's totally different, right? The agricultural landscape has shifted. It's all technology infused now. And this kid is growing up, all of them know how to access tablet. Everybody. All these kids are so much smarter than us. It's ridiculous, right? So technology is not going anywhere anytime soon. So maybe some of these kids, with what we've done, they can also maybe take it to the next level. Maybe dream and say, how can we make what we've done? How can we make it better, right? And it gives them the opportunity to see the ag space as something they want to be part of, as something that they feel like they can enhance, right, through technology. So it's very exciting.
Oh, Sean, I feel like you painted it perfectly, almost in a way that I hope convinces our students to check out this industry, because I know it's one that it is very family driven. It's a very generational industry, but it has so much opportunity that's there, especially, of course, with what you're doing and pioneering this technology. And I hope our students hear this, but it's, there's a lot of popular careers right now for our students to pick from, but it's like this totally encapsulates a lot of passions that people have, and I know our students have, from caring about animals to technology to food. Who doesn't care about food?
Exactly.
So I love that. No, God, it's really cool because I think you can hit on, in this field, a lot of things that our students love. But I'd love to ask you, what is it that you love about this industry, this business, and what you get to do?
Man, there's a lot. First of all, the people, right? Amazing people. Like I said, is very generational. They put their heart into everything that they do, right? And I'm just glad to be part of it. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, it's just amazing how just giving just focusing and just giving a way for writers to be able to tell their story, giving a way for ranchers to be able to breed quality animals, giving a way for ranchers to be able to connect to the consumers and earn those trust. I think it's just is amazing. So for me, I'm just glad that I have an opportunity to be part of the industry. And the cool thing is the technology that we build is not just is a global technology. It's not just for ranchers in the state. It's for ranchers all over the world, right? And just having that impact, not just touching ranchers not in the state, but touching ranchers all over the world, even ranchers that I've never met before, is amazing. And like I said, when I started, I didn't know anybody, right? I didn't know anything about the ag industry. I didn't know nothing. I'm not a cowboy. I didn't know anything. I tell people, I said the only thing I did wrong was just to have an idea. You know what I'm saying? But the journey and the process has been amazing. You know, I've met a lot of amazing people. I've been with a lot of amazing ranchers. Yes, there's challenges, there's difficulty, and it comes naturally. Anything you do, you're gonna struggle. You're gonna have challenges. It comes with the territory. But I think the ends justify the means. The ability to see people that I've never met before in my life and thanking me that, hey, I appreciate what you've done. You've given us, you've empowered us with your tool. You've given us the opportunity to be more sustainable with our ranching. You've given us an opportunity to create value, and you've given us the opportunity to be able to pass it down to the next generation. To me, that's amazing. That's what just keeps me going.
Mm. Sean, I love your natural energy, your passion, your joy. It's obvious that you love what you do. You just love life. You mentioned on the very onset, without a shadow of a doubt, that you are the dreamer. I have a feeling that Sean is not quite finished yet. I'd love to know, what dream do you have on your heart right now that you're working towards?
One of the things I want to do is, for me, yes, we have. To me, I told people, I said, what I'm doing is bigger than the technology. Is bigger than the company. My goal is to be able to inspire other people to see possibility. My goal is to inspire other people, to be able to dream big. You know what I mean? So for me, is how can I continue to inspire the next generation, regardless of where you've come from, regardless of what your struggle is, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of who you are, you have the God-given ability to dream and take it to the next level. So for me, it's just trying to figure out a way to just inspire and especially the younger generation, regardless of where they're at, whether they here in the States, whether they're in Africa, whether they're in China, whether they're in Mexico, it doesn't matter, right? Just give them the ability to say, hey, if you can dream it, you can believe it, it can happen, right? Yes, it's not going to be easy, right? You're going to have to go through the process, but if you persevere and you commit it, anything is possible, and you'll be amazed, what's going to happen if you never give up on your dreams.
Oh, that's good. Sean, I wanted to ask you this, and from hearing your story, especially, you say you're not a cowboy, but you're entering into like this ag zone. And so you're a bit of an outsider coming into this industry. And I wonder, because I know our middle school students, they struggle with this, is feeling like they don't belong, or they feel like they don't belong. What would you, and I know you have, it's one of those things that you have something amazing to offer, right? Like, you're supposed to deliver this technology to these people. But how did you deal with that, a feeling, I mean, if you did feel like that at any point where you felt like, okay, I feel a bit of an outsider, but how would you speak into our students right now if they feel those things?
I think, for me, I think everybody struggle initially. Everybody feel like they don't belong. But I tell people, I said, there's 5 things that I think you need to understand about yourself. First of all, you have to know who you are, right? You have to have an identity. Who am I? Regardless of, where you find yourself, regardless of people think you fit in or you don't fit in, it doesn't matter what people think. It matters what you think. You got to understand who you are. What's your identity? Right. Once you know who you are, you have to have the confidence. The second thing is where you're from, understanding your source. Right. Where am I from? The third thing is, what's my purpose? Why am I here? Right. What am I supposed to do? Why am I here? Because you find yourself in certain situations, in certain places in life, you have to understand it's not an accident. You're here for a reason. You know what I'm saying? And your skills and your talent will always make room for you. You know what I'm saying? The fourth thing is, what is my potential? What can I do? What am I here to do? And the last thing is, where am I going with this? What is my destiny? You know what I mean? And your destiny is going to make way for your legacy. So once you understand those things about yourself, it doesn't matter whether you're an outsider. It doesn't matter whether people think you belong or you don't belong. As long as you truly understand who you are, you can do anything. You know what I mean? And the craziest thing is, the moment you open your mouth and you prophesy and say, okay, this is what I want to do, best believe it, all hell is going to break loose. But that's okay, right? That is okay.
That's real.
You know what I mean? You're going to walk through the valley of shadow of death. That is okay. That's part of living your dreams. You know what I mean? When you say I'm a dreamer, when you're living your dreams, you're going to face challenges. You know what I mean? You're going to face struggles. You know, you're going to, everything that will go wrong will go wrong. But you have to understand, once you understand who you are and once you understand the source and the power that you have, and God said, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, anything will be possible. You know, He gives you the vision, He always going to make the provision. All you have to do is stay present. You might not have what you want at the time, but I guarantee you, He's gonna give you what you need to get to the next step. So it doesn't matter what you want to do in life, and it doesn't matter where you're from. As long as you believe in yourself, anything is possible.
Carol, if you heard that sound, I think that was the mic that just dropped on the stage. Sean, you are on a roll, and so we're just going to keep you on this roll in the zone and place that you're in right now. There's one last question that we have for you, and that we ask each of our dreamers and doers. So we give you 60 seconds, and we would love for you to close this out, speaking into the hearts of our students, the next generation. It's the dreamer out there, that has the dream that hasn't yet happened. It's the person perhaps maybe that's feeling a little burnt out, and maybe they need to just rest and pause, and they need to dream a little bit more. But whatever's on your heart, we'd love for you to take 60 seconds and speak into the heart of the dreamer and the doer that's listening. So, Sean, are you ready?
Yes, absolutely. I think for society, I think the worst thing we can do is to take the hope and dreams from the young generation. I think for us as a society, we have to create opportunity and we have to create confidence for the younger generation to see themselves bigger, to be able to dream bigger than what they even imagine. So if you're out there, you're a kid, and I don't think you should worry so much about the future. I think you should just focus on now, right? Like I said in my previous conversation, how it's going to happen is none of your business. You know what I mean? When I was dreaming about coming to the state, I didn't know it was going to happen. I was just dreaming. I was like, there got to be somewhere better for me, and there got to be some opportunity for me out there. But if you ask me how it was going to happen, I didn't know. When I started the company, I didn't know how it was going to happen. I just had an idea, right? But I just tell people, just don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to take care of itself. Worry about now. Stay present, right? That's the least you can do, because life is very fragile. I mean, 2020, nobody expected 2020, right? And everything you do every day, make sure that you inspire people. Make sure that this is the last thing you do. Make sure that before you die, make sure that, okay, you're confident enough that at least, you've done your best. You know what I mean? So I encourage the younger generation, dream big, work hard, because just dreaming alone is not going to cut it. You have to be able to do it. You have to be a doer. You have to be able to execute. You know what I mean? You have to keep good company around you. There's a lot of dream killers out there, right? There's a lot of people that will say, oh, yeah, just because they feel like they cannot do it, they feel like you cannot do it. You can't listen to them, because it's not their vision. It's your vision. It's your dream. You in control. So, put God first. It's going to make a way for you. Take it one step at a time. And the last thing, you have to walk by faith and not by sight. Don't worry about what you see around you right now. You know what I mean? What you see around you and the things that the things that you feel like is not the impossibility that you see around you, don't worry about that. You know what I mean? Worry about what you can control and do your best and just, give it your all. And before you know it, everything happens, and you just, live your dreams and ultimately, you have the opportunity to change the world and inspire people, and you're the best you can be, man, and that's it. And as long as you can do that, anything is possible, man. I'm telling you.
Boom. Work hard. Don't forget to dream big. I love that. How is none of your business?
It's none of your business. Absolutely.
I
Because
love
yeah, we worry about because every time we dream and was like, oh man, I don't have the money, I don't know the people, I don't know the resources, and ultimately we just stop dreaming. Don't do that. You know what I mean? Everybody on earth is given an opportunity. Everybody's here for a reason, for a purpose. You just got to understand who you are and what's your purpose. And once you do that, everything else is secondary. You just got to focus on what you can control and leave everything, and everything else will work itself out.
too true. Thank you, Sean. Well, we're going to unpack. Michael and I have so much to talk about. I feel like with your interview, and such good that I know our students can take from your story, and also just the advice that you're giving to us. And so, Sean, thank you so much for your time today. And yeah, we're excited just to see where AgriBoost is going to go, and agrobioinformatics too. So you're going to change the world, like I think one steak at a time.
I like that. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me. It's been an honor to be on your show. Thank you, guys.
Sean, before we send you off, I'll tell you, this has just been awesome. When we had the real fortunate opportunity to give you a tour of our campus, and I could not get enough of hearing your story. I feel so blessed that I get to hear it again, along with our team, of course, with our listeners. Sean, again, before we send you off, is there a place that our students can find you? Can you give us a place to connect with you?
Yeah, I'm always. I don't do a lot of social media, but I'm on LinkedIn. You can just Google my name. Search for my name, Sean Akadiri, on LinkedIn. Connect with me on LinkedIn. And my company is on Facebook. If you want to follow what we're doing on Facebook or on Twitter, at AgBoost on Twitter, and also at AgBoost on Facebook, you can search us out and just follow us. And we're just doing our own part, man. We're part of a bigger vision. You know what I mean? So we're just doing our own part and just trying to change the industry and make it better, and give you guys great steaks, and and just make the world a better place. That's pretty much it. I mean, we're just doing God's work, man. That's it. I'm just a servant serving everybody, man. That's it.
Well, there is no doubt you're changing an industry. You're also inspiring a generation. So, Sean, thank you for making us better today.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it, Michael. I appreciate it, Colin. Thank you guys very much for having me, man. It's been an honor. Thank you.
Well, Carolyn, we mentioned on the onset that our students and listeners were going to need to buckle in. But hey, you can't stay buckled in after listening to that. It is time to unbuckle, and it's time to get doing.
Yes, it is. I think that's just a huge part of his story. And, I think it's a hard thing to get out of, but it's like a dream cycle where you come up with this idea and then you say, no, but it's not going to work. And so then you hop on to the next maybe idea and dream until you say, no, that's not going to work. And it just continues and you never end up doing. And so I like what Sean says, just do it. How is none of your business? In fact, the talents that you've been given, the skills that you've been provided are going to really help you figure out what that next step is. You just got to get started.
And dreaming is free.
Yeah.
And I'm quoting Sean, and no one can take that away from you. That right there is gold. Speaking of additional gold, if you want more gold, you can check out our website as we close this thing out at loveworksleadership.org. If you'd like to learn more about LoveWorks, our previous guests, other personal growth resources that we have, like our blog, you're absolutely going to love that. So that's where you can check out all things leadership.
And remember, real leaders, they don't blend in, but they stand out.
Dream big, everyone.
And do your dream.